Welcome! Oh boy, I'm Halcyon, this is Hug Nation. Today I want to talk about meditation. Because isn't that what meditation is really best for? Is something for you to talk about? Wait, no, that's not true at all. Last week I was invited to a Transcendental Meditation intro class, a free seminar introduction. And I have heard wonderful things from famous people and online for people who have great experience with the Transcendental Meditation, but I've also heard some not so wonderful experiences. So I posted on Facebook, hey, does anyone have any personal experiences with TM? You know, I'm not so sure how good I feel about paying money for a mantra. And because that's one of the things that I'd heard, that you basically, they give you a personal mantra and you pay a lot of money to get that mantra, but I've heard from some that that's really not that, maybe not worth it. And I heard back all sorts of feedback. Quite a few people that are TM practitioners and have for many years and have had transformational experiences. One person who's even gone to Maharaja University and is a current instructor, and filled with very positive feedback and encouragement, and asking, reach out if you have any questions. And then there was a number of people who said, wasn't for me, or I didn't like the way the marketing is set up for it. And then the topic of the cost of it became, kind of diverted, and the conversation became all about paying for spirituality. One person pointed out that originally Transcendental Meditation was taught by Maharaji for free, and eventually he realized, or he learned, that people were more dedicated when they were invested, when they had paid. And so the cost part of it is intentional, and is part of the benefit to the recipient, having them be invested financially. But still, there was a lot of people with a lot of really negative feelings, people saying that you should never have to pay for spiritual things, and don't trust anyone who charges for spiritual instruction. And I don't think that way at all. My reaction and my kind of concern about paying for a mantra is not my negativity about spiritual costs at all. I have a joy budget, which is kind of where I pay for spiritual lectures or books or things like that. But I've had a monthly budget for that for many years. And I think it is an important way to value your mental health. There is nothing that's really more important. If you have an entertainment budget, or if you have a food budget, you should have a mental health budget. And so I believe in that. And in fact, I would like someday, maybe sooner than later, to be making a good living by charging people or receiving resources and money from people who are paying for my spiritual writings, teachings, coachings, seminars, something like that. So I want to be a part of this system, but I also recognize that it's a dangerous place when you mix commerce and spirituality. I think it's important to value these tools enough to dedicate resources to them, but I also think it's important to understand that the fundamental core aspect of any spiritual practice is priceless and is personal and cannot be paid for. You can't decide, well, I'm going to pay a little bit more and get a little bit, more at peace. Or you can say, I don't really have time to meditate, so I'm going to, pay for this mantra. The things that you pay for are tools to potentially facilitate it or make it more pleasant. Paying for a location, renting an area that you can meditate in, or helping to, or a cushion that makes things easier for you, or training and allowing someone's expertise to guide you on your way. But history has demonstrated that many, many, many people find their way on a spiritual practice on their own. You don't need any of these spiritual tools. You don't have to buy any of these things. You can wander out in the desert, as many people do. So I do believe in paying for spiritual tools. I do believe that it's important to value spiritual teachers. I don't think that necessarily because it is something that has to do with spirituality, it has to be separate from commerce. In fact, commerce in general, capitalism, is merely a voting system, a way to say, this is something that I value. I would like more of this in the world, so I want to put dollars at it as a vote. More of this, more of this, more of this. If there's tons of people making a living as meditation teachers, more meditation studios will open. If nobody can make a living teaching meditation, then we will not have meditation studios and we will not have meditation teachers except in a non-professional, more amateur way. And maybe you think that's best. One of the things that has to be evaluated and has to be kind of constantly checked in, though, when you do partner commerce and spirituality is recognizing that that union there is a vulnerable place. That the relationship between a teacher and a student, especially on a spiritual path, is one where there's a ton of trust required. And the teacher or the authority, the church or whatever, can't take advantage of that in the same way that a company or a store or a salesperson is trained to do. Like, sell it for as much as you can, as much of it as you can. Like, that's kind of the way capitalism encourages anybody in that transactional role to be. But within a spiritual relationship, you can't do that because you're letting down your guards and allowing this person to help you in this vulnerable place, person or institution or organization. And when that relationship is manipulated or when it is broken, it has the potential for just horrible things to happen. That's when you have people that, go to a psychic and the psychic says, oh my gosh, you've got this dark cloud over you and your children are going to get sick and you're going to die. But you know what? For $100,000, we can clear all that negative energy. And they're like, oh my gosh, yes, please help me. And as crazy as that sounds, examples of that happen all the time, from palm readers to churches to every place where you have these relationships. They're being manipulated, which is one of the reasons. The fact that it's so kind of delicate a relationship is one reason why I bristle whenever kind of traditional marketing tactics are used in a spiritual sense. I have an issue with the whole marketing concept of, hey, come to my free seminar, come to this free talk and we'll give you a timeshare. Come to this free thing. And then once you're there, you're a captive audience and you get pummeled with marketing and hard sells. And sometimes, you have to be strong in that place to say, no, thank you for this free gift. I don't want to buy any of what you're selling. And when that is done in spiritual ways, that's scary to me. I know that my instinct is to want to make somebody happy, to when someone has invited me to this free thing and the gift then becomes an obligation, and then I just don't like that. And so I'm sure there are wonderful things in the world that I have missed out on because I have been resistant to those type of arrangements. I'm sure there's wonderful seminars that I've missed. I'm sure that there's great diet programs that I don't know about. The Landmark Forum is one that I know so many people that have had incredible experiences there. But the nature of its marketing, it puts me on a careful danger kind of place. So I've never been to a Landmark Forum. And part of my fears and my resistance in those areas, I think, are really deep. I had this realization as I was talking to an executive coach last week, and I was talking about how, I've never run a company, or I've never had employees, or I've never, run a corporation. I'm like, well, except, I do help run First Saturdays, which is a charity, and we have 100 volunteers once a month, and we have all these organizing to do. And I do help run Pink Heart, which is like 100 people, and there's all these teams and committees and budgets and things like that. But both of those things, although I am a leader and I act as CEO at times in these organizations, neither one makes money. They both give money away. They require money. They ask people who, I don't pay anybody, and we don't make any money. And so I clearly have some mental obstacle with joy giving and money receiving. And so I need to find a way to get my hangups out of the way so that I can say, yeah, my new company is selling meditation mantras or whatever that might be. Fuzzy pink bike conversion kits or a weekend seminar that will change your life and make you taller. I don't know what it is, but anyway. So back to meditation. Once we got over, or I got over the financial side of this conversation, I was, it was cool as people started to share all these different types of meditation experiences that people had, whether mindfulness or Vedic, I guess, with people said that it is very much like TM, but without the same financial models wrapped around it. People talked about Vipassana, which is something that I've never done because I am terrified of it. Vipassana, if you don't know, is a 10-day silent retreat. Silent. No talking, and get this, no journaling. No, just, and my understanding of it is that you so confront the insanity of yourself and your thoughts that eventually you break through it and, discover your masks and see the reality of the oneness that you are a part of. And that sounds beautiful and all, but I can't get over the thought and the stories I've heard about sitting for hours and hours and hours and hours. I struggle with body comfort. And the idea of sitting for multiple hours, oh my gosh. I've been to meditation retreats where I am so fidgety after 20 minutes, I just can't get comfortable. And in fact, there was one that I really enjoyed the content, but I said, I can't go back because I just can't sit that long. And I eventually talked to the leader of it, and he said, if you need to, you can lie down. And I was like, okay, good, because I can't sit that long. And I know by me saying I can't do it, that's probably the exact kind of limiting belief that I would bust through in Vipassana, but I'm afraid. I'm sure you could argue I'm afraid of birth pain, and therefore I will never have the miracle of birth. But right now I'm in that state of pain or fear or both. So I wanted to, a lot of people are chiming in and giving me advice about meditation, and I realized that I didn't give any context. I'm not totally new to meditation. My first experience with meditation was when I was in college. I went on a tour as part of a class, went through multiple places, and I spent a week at a Zazen meditation dojo in Tokyo, or just outside of Tokyo. And it was an awesome experience. I was way out of my league, and I was just trying to figure things out and trying not to offend all the monks and the people that were studying there. But at the end of the week there, I was given a brief audience with the master who ran the studio, or the dojo, or whatever you would call it. And so, I'm a college kid. I'm like, I don't know. I can't really, free my mind. And I should take a step back. This guy was the closest thing I've ever seen in human form to Yoda. He was, I think, under 5 feet tall, super wrinkly. He looked like 145 years old, and just serene, And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm supposed to clear my mind. I can't. He goes, in zazen, sit. I'm like, oh. So when am I supposed to? He goes, sit. So am I supposed to? He goes, sit. He goes, in zazen we sit. I sit for many years before I know why I sit. And I was like, at the time I was like, well, what the? That's not very encouraging. Keep sitting. Eventually this will make sense to you. But now I get what he was saying. Because here I was trying to make intellectual sense, trying to get him to explain on an intellectual level something that he knows from experience is not something that can be explained from intellect. I'm never going to get it until I feel it. And now, actually, I'm not so sure I entirely believe that anymore, that tactic of just sit and you'll all figure it out. Because what has been very helpful to me is listening to lectures by specifically Alan Watts, and he talks about, one of the goals of meditation is to create a gap between the thinker and the thoughts, a gap between the I that is having these thoughts, that is feeling this pain, that is trying to clear his mind, and the I that is this deep oneness that is everything, and that as you meditate and you observe yourself, or as you pull out of the story that you're in all the time, you start to actually experience a little bit of this gap. And it can give you this, and it allows you to experience the drama of life with a little bit of distance, like you're playing a game. Last week I talked about, that getting involved with politics can be a lot more enjoyable if you recognize that I'm putting on a jersey and now I'm sweating and trying to score and getting mad but trying to be a good sport about it. It's more fun if you know that you got a jersey on. And meditation is that reminder, all right, I'm on a soccer field right now. I'm not a soccer player. That's not what I am. I'm playing this role in this human experience right now. So that was my first experience. And then over the years, I've done all sorts of classes and listened to tons of guided meditations. I personally find guided meditations, the ones that are like, oh, you feel the beach and the sun is on your face. Imagine a relaxing place. Like, I appreciate those experiences as tools of relaxation, but I don't find them to have that gap of awareness between thinker-thought oneness that I think is the deep benefit of meditation. Clearly, there's all sorts of benefits to meditation, and even calming yourself is super beneficial. But in terms of the deep spiritual lessons that I think is what transforms a life, that I don't get closer to that through guided meditations. For a couple years, I did a daily meditation in our office at Fresh Realm, and that was really, I was more like the timekeeper, and I would just allow us to have silence where we would mostly focus on practicing stillness, practicing building the muscle. People say, I can't meditate, I can't keep my mind still. Like, well, that's like, if you went to the gym for the first time ever and said, I can't bench press. Of course not. You have no muscle definition. You got to build it up. The first time you're going to maybe lift just the bar. And the first time you meditate, maybe you keep your mind still for one breath or two breaths, and you wander off, then you bring it back. One breath, bring it back. Two breaths, bring it back. That's not failing, that's meditating. And that kind of forgiveness of, I'm not good at this, allowed me, I think, to get much better at my stillness muscles. And it allowed me really to be able to transfer that into life so that I was able to be present for other things in life, present for a sunset, present for an experience with a friend or family. And more recently, I've been going to the Wisdom 2.0 conference and being studying more specific mindfulness practices. And I find that my current practice, although, I'm not gonna criticize myself. I'm working up to longer lengths. I'm currently just doing 10 minutes a day. It's more of a mindfulness practice with a Alan Watts philosophy kind of behind it, anchoring it. But the big picture that I wanted to just kind of address with this is clearly there are many different tools that work for many different people, but also it's becoming pretty obvious that if you don't meditate and you're unhappy with any aspect of your life, that's an area that you can work on. Just like a gratitude practice. If you're unhappy or depressed, first thing you should do, start a daily gratitude practice. If you have trouble with anything in your life in terms of discipline, in terms of frustration, a meditation practice. Science and countless experiences of people in the world says that this will help. Now, how you do that? Well, just as this Facebook thread showed, people got all sorts of opinions, and that's where you got to do your own work. But I do believe at the end of the day, as we, each of us, find stillness, works on our own practice, we are not just healing ourselves, we are healing the collective planetary vibration. If those words are too woo-woo for you, my apologies. But healing yourself does heal the world. So whatever your practice is, thank you. I love you.